Time to end this. For real this time. Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much. And let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episodes 20 and 21 of Gnosia. The final two episodes I've decided to do together just because timing kind of works out that way. I feel like it makes sense. And considering we're kind of like within this last little bit here, these last three episodes in general basically being the true ending route of like what the game would be, I assume, it makes it kind of better, because last episode was mostly just kind of finding the inspiration, Yuri finding the motivation to go after that. While this episode is the actual, like, trying to enact it. And so it makes sense anyways. It worked out really well. And yeah, our goal is to save Setsu and, well, make sure everybody has a happy ending. But like I've said already, I just don't think we're going to be able to wrap everything else up, like, really satisfyingly. And that's my biggest fear for this for this end of the series, because from what I've gathered, there's probably not going to be a second season. And honestly, with this kind of series, I don't think there would need to be. But there's still questions that we have unanswered. The entire stuff with Manon being the big one. I brought this up before, but it's like that's almost what I'm more interested in finding out at this point than anything else. But it feels like this ending is going to be dedicated solely to rescuing Setsu. Excuse me. And wrapping things up with the Manon stuff and, who put Manon into Kakrushka. And just, closing everything out with, like, this entire Gnos issue. It feels almost secondary. It feels like it's not going to be actually, like, it feels like nothing's going to be done with it. Yuri is just going to focus on this perfect world line, getting Setsu there with everyone else, and then just ignoring all the other issues that ever came up. And that just feels so unsatisfying. It just feels like such a waste. You know what I mean? Because it's like, again, I think I said this last time, but the game probably goes a lot more into a lot of these plot points and a lot of the characters and all. Which, I mean, I already thought that we were going to get a lot more character stuff. Like there's some characters in this show who just did not get the developments that others did, and it's kind of disappointing. But that I can live with because I can understand it's like you're not going to be able to get to everyone like within the time you have for the series, so focus on the ones that feel like they're going to just be more important or who you would want to make more important, I guess is more accurate. But when you have like an active storyline and you make it an active mystery to the point where it's kind of a big deal and all of the biggest reveals happen as a direct consequence of questioning these things, it's like how can you just then ignore those questions for the rest of the series and never come back to them? And I don't see how we could come back to them here because we have to focus so much on getting Setsu back. And I just don't see how the stuff with Manon and Kakrushka can fit into that. Maybe it will, maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I don't see it. And I know it's like, oh, you're gonna just like ramble on about this forever. It's like, aren't you just happy about the idea of saving Setsu? It's like, sure. Like, of course, but I'm listen, I'm autistic. I can't shut my brain off. And so it's like when there's something like that I was super interested in that doesn't get any kind of proper resolution, it bothers me. And it's what my mind tends to focus on in situations and moments like this. And it's led to me like dropping shows because even if just temporarily, because they weren't answering the questions I felt like they were setting up and supposed to answer within reasonable time. I mean that's why I originally dropped the Owl House at first. Before, I was requested to pick it back up and it became one of my favorite shows. But I originally dropped it for a bit because I was like irritated that it wasn't answering a major question that felt like a plot hole. And it ended up being answered in a satisfying way. But it took a lot longer than I feel like it probably should have. It just, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me and my autism and my need for, answers. But it was something that bothered me. And so I'm really hoping that they find some way to tie this back into that. We have 2 episodes to do it, but I also just don't feel like there's enough time. I feel like this is just going to be saving Setsu and nothing else. So at this point, it's like I'm just kind of expecting to be, at least to some degree, disappointed. But don't worry about anything. It's like that won't like really color my entire impression of the show as a whole. I'm not one of those people who thinks like, oh, an ending or unresolved things like that would ruin a series. I don't believe that for a second. I believe that a series is as good as its whole, not just 1 or 2 parts. And a bad ending can't ruin a series. One bad element can't ruin a series. And like something being one thing being unresolved won't ruin a series. It just docks points at worst. So but yeah, I'm just curious as to how like how Yuri's gonna use this other cube. I can never remember the name. I'm at the end of the series and I still can't remember the fucking thing's name. What is wrong with me? Like, I know I'm bad at remembering names and stuff a lot, but this is ridiculous. But yeah, like, Yuri was going to use another one of those so that they could, go through all these loops again, fill it, and open up the portal to get to Setsu. But the problem is, it probably wouldn't open up the same portal to the same location, the same other universe, right? That just doesn't make sense. That's my big hang up about that. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But let's get into this and find out how this ends. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts. We'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I'm kind of mixed on this ending, if I'm being completely honest. I know this might sound weird, but I actually think that the other ending was better. Because the problem here is, with this true ending, with everything that happened, yes, we did wrap up everything, and I'm actually really glad about that. That's not what I'm talking about. I will get to that in a bit. What I'm talking about here is the way that the ending actually ended up for everyone. Because in this timeline, this is like, most of the crew is dead. And then there's a couple, or I guess technically just one at this point, who just doesn't exist anymore. Kukrushka. By going through the portal, Kukrushka is just not going to exist anymore. But this means that Setsu, Gina, trying to get all the names. Setsu, Gina, Rakio are the only survivors of this timeline. Because Yuri's mind is erased by Gnosia. And SQ only exists when Manon's consciousness transfer fails. So SQ doesn't exist in this timeline either. Technically, yeah, she doesn't exist at all. Because, again, she only comes into existence when the consciousness transfer fails. So, yeah. So, if Yuri's gone, if SQ is just not even part of this timeline, then it's just Setsu, Rakio, and Gina. That means everyone else is either dead or just gone. And, yeah, there was a previous timeline where everyone else was saved, but that's not the timeline Yuri's going to live in anymore. Or, well, Yuri's not going to live in any timeline. This is not a good ending. Because it's like, Yuri left behind everybody except Setsu being saved, just to save Setsu, but in doing so, they have to sacrifice themselves, and most of the others are also gone and dead. It's like, what does this really accomplish except saving Setsu? It's like I understand that Setsu and Yuri are like connected like very strongly and that they like obviously mean a lot to each other. But it's like this doesn't really accomplish much of anything. I'm sorry, but the other timeline where everybody else is saved and Setsu is just kind of erased because of their sacrifice is a better timeline. It's a timeline where there are no Gnosia, where everyone gets to live. And Setsu's ending is sad, but it's much more positive than this. I don't really like that. How this ended up. Like it feels so actively worse than the other ending. And I'm just really not about it. I am glad that we did like conclude the stuff with Manon. And I assume we didn't get like the specific revelation of like, oh, who was transferring Manon's consciousness into Kakrushka in the first place in the previous timeline and everything. We never got that information. Because I don't know if it's like, if Manon could do this on her own. It's not entirely clear. But the thing is, Manon's consciousness in that timeline wasn't transferred from SQ to Kakrushka, right? The consciousness just was transferred to Kakrushka, just generally, from presumably Manon. I don't know. It's like we didn't get the full conclusive revelation for that, but we got something. At least we brought Manon back into the fold and gave a conclusion with that, even if it's not the most satisfying. Also, why the fuck did we save Manon? I'm sorry, I know, like, Yuri's kind of goal was to save everyone, but why is Manon included in that? Manon is a psychopathic, like, torturer. She's blatantly evil. Like, why the fuck would we save Manon? What? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like, Yuri, I get that they want to save everyone, but that shouldn't include Manon. Considering the shit Manon has done to the likes of Remnin and everything, it's just like, that's not okay. There's a fine line, I feel, between kindness and stupidity. Like, it's one thing to be kind and to want to, like, help everyone you can, but there's a certain line where it's like, you have to acknowledge when someone is too bad to be worth saving. There's a certain point where you have to, like, put other people's safety first. By transferring Manon to this other world, who knows how many people she's going to victimize there? How many versions of these crew members? Like, is that not kind of cruel? I don't know. It's just it seemed like a very, like, again, optimistic concept that things would work out, but there's no reason to trust Manon, and there's no reason to think that she won't just, like, enslave and torture people in those timelines too. It's just I don't feel like that was a good move, a morally or ethically correct move on Yuri's part. Which again just kind of makes this true ending feel just significantly worse. Like, we don't save everyone. We send a psychopathic, like, a horrifically evil person off to probably be horrifically evil in another universe. Like, I mean, think about it. In the timeline where, like, where Manon was in Kukrushka's body in the first place, she violently and horrifically murdered everyone. Like, what are we doing? Also, why did she wake up in SQ's body? I just thought about that. If she was in Kukrushka's body, having transferred it, and the entire thing was that she was supposed to be a doll and would never age and would consistently go through the loops, why did she then wake up in SQ's body again? Unless that's just supposed to be like SQ in that universe taking over for Yuri in terms of waking up. I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That I don't know. I don't know. I am glad that we got the Manon stuff. I'm glad that, like, Setsu was saved, but again, I don't think it was worth it. I don't think that this was the better ending. Because, like, I think I've compared this to, like, in term. I think when we were talking about, like, there being a true ending and stuff the other episode, I think I compared it to Undertale. And let me just talk about that real quick. Undertale also has a good ending, neutral ending, and a true ending. Also the genocide ending, but that's not relevant really. And in the, like, kind of good ending where you, like, are pacifist and you don't kill anyone, it's like you get out, everyone survives, it's like the barrier is broken, everyone gets to live on the surface. It's a generally good ending. And then you have the true ending, where you go down into Alphys's basement and discover all the truths of everything. But in this universe, not only do you get to save everyone that you saved before, but you also get to save someone you didn't even know you needed to save. You get to save the main villain. And this allows for an even better ending that helps you to understand not only everything that had been going on behind the scenes, you understand all of the lore through this, and you get to save everyone and then some. It's actually, like, it's actively better because it's the ending is built on from the original pacifist good ending. It's an actively better ending because it takes what the result of the good pacifist ending was and gives you more of that. This is not that. This is like if the original ending were the pacifist ending and the true ending were the neutral ending. Where it's like, oh, yeah, no, some people just do end up dead, some people do end up killed, but a couple people survive. That makes it okay. And it's not the same. It's just not the same. And it's just not as good. I don't get it. I don't get why the true ending would be so actively worse. That makes no sense to me. I like the different, like, plans and everything that Setsu and Yuri, like, went through here. I like the entire like way they exposed Manon and just how they got the silver key and dealt with all of that. Like that was like I really enjoyed that kind of stuff. And also even before Yuri started looping again, uh, their talk with Rakio was pretty great, and I feel like there was way too much of like the build up to the loop starting again. Like that should have the loop should have started again a lot quicker. Yuri should have activated the next silver key a lot quicker. But still, um, I liked having all these loops shown through like the montage and everything. I think that was a good idea, rather than like trying to go through even a few more loops like regularly, because obviously there wasn't enough time for that. But yeah, I think that this was like I think that the way that this ending was presented was good. I just don't like the ending itself. And the thing is, it's probably the same in the game, I would assume. Like, the true ending in the game probably ends this way, too. So it's probably not just a thing for the anime, it's for the anime, like, alone. I just think this is, again, a bad result compared to the previous ending. I don't like it. Like, don't get me wrong, like, this was well done, it was well handled and everything, but it's like, again, I'm just like, I feel like it's just not correct. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. And I'm not happy with it. It leaves off on such a sad, upsetting note. It's not a happy ending at all. And that's what kind of bothers me the most, because it's like it seems like it was setting up for and like telling us it was going to be a happy ending, and then it just ends up not being one. Like, couldn't Gnos have just transferred them back to the other universe and let them live with all the other people that they saved, both Yuri and Setsu? Like, seriously. That would have been the best case scenario if Gnos just suddenly interfered and transferred them back at the very end when, like, they're laying there and it's like, oh, Yuri thinks that they're going to die. But that doesn't happen. If that had happened, that one thing would have fixed everything. That one thing would have completely made this ending as perfect as it probably could be. But the way it's actually executed, the way things actually went down, it just makes it like really upsetting and sad and it just, I'm not happy at the end. I'm not happy with it. I'm not satisfied. But I said this in the pre-thoughts, and I'm going to say it again here. A bad ending cannot ruin a series. I firmly stand by that. I don't care what anyone else says. A bad ending may dock points from a series, but it cannot ruin a series altogether. If a series is, in your perspective, ruined by the bad ending, that means there were other problems there that you just didn't realize. I'll give you an example. I hated the ending of Star versus the Forces of Evil. People have tried to explain to me it being good. People have tried to, like, say that they liked it or, like, it turned out in a good way. But it's like nothing anyone has ever been able to say to me has even made a slight modicum of sense to me. the ending to Star Versus is atrociously bad. But the thing is, it's not just the like final episode. Like it's a good amount of like the final bit of the series altogether. Like it gets bad like well before the last episode. The series just takes a downturn within its episodes. And it's not the only show to do that for me, in my opinion. Steven Universe does as well. Steven Universe just completely takes a massive downturn as well with how it handles the ending. And then Steven Universe Future, I just really didn't like. As like a follow-up series, even though it's basically just a continuation. Although I did like the movie. I liked the movie, I just didn't like the Steven Universe Future series. But those are two shows that, outside of the endings, are still really great, and at certain points are some of the best of modern animation. Like, Star Versus and Steven Universe are fantastic at points. And that's not ruined. That doesn't just stop being the case because the ending is bad. It just takes away points from it overall. It stops the shows from actually being amongst the best, in my opinion. But it doesn't stop them from being good at all. It's like if, prior to it really getting bad, if Steven Universe was like a 8.5 out of 10, it would have dropped to like a 7 out of 10. Altogether, not a massive drop, and still in the net positive. Just as this is just a random example, by the way. I'm not saying this is the actual rankings, but just as like off the top of my head, basically. It's still in the net positive. Both of those shows, I would say, are. But the endings do hurt them and keep them from being the best. But they don't, like, ruin them. That's what I'm trying to say. And the ending of this series also doesn't ruin the overall series. Because, like, pretty much all of it up until these last two episodes, and honestly, more so the last episode than anything, the entire rest of the series is phenomenal. It's not like the best show or anything. There's a lot of other anime out there that I love a lot more than this. But overall, I still like very much enjoyed this. I was invested from the start. I love most of the characters. I actually got an idea here. This is going to be interesting to try to do, so give me a second to figure this out. Because I had, like, I think twice before, actually. I did a thing where I was, I did a tier list of, like, the Gnosia characters, my rankings for them. And now that the series is over, I can give, like, a full final ranking. I just have to make sure that I have this right, so give me a second. Okay, this'll work. This'll work. If I can... There we go. Okay. So this is where my rankings were at before. As you can see, like, SQ is at the top and everything. This definitely has to change. And I think instead of just trying to move them around, it would be easier and better to just reset this and start from the beginning, just as of what I'm feeling right now. So SQ is definitely my favorite. That's undeniable. There is no question about that. Like, she won me over so hard. And even in the end, even though she, is dead in the end, it's like that doesn't stop her from being my favorite. Comet is definitely still my second favorite. It's like these two together, it's like just personality-wise, it's like it's more about who they are and all the depth they were given and everything. I'm actually now going to move towards my least favorites. Jonas. Jonas is one of the characters that just was not given enough. I don't know if he's given a lot more in the game. I assume probably. But in terms of the anime, which is all I have to work off of, keep in mind, he just felt so weak. Like they just didn't give him enough focus. They didn't bother to like develop him enough. And even in the end, like Yuri had to appeal to like his sense of adventure and shit to get him to, agree to this plan of getting Yuri cyberized and everything. It's just like, what the fuck? It's like, in the end, like, I don't like him. And the series did nothing to make me like him. And that's, I think, my biggest issue. And then we have Yuriko. Yuriko is definitely still at the bottom as well, except I think I like her a little bit more than Jonas because at least she got more to her. Yuriko actually had some level of development, even if I still don't think enough by any means. And she's at least more interesting by the end in terms of her overall character. Like, Jonas is just kind of boring. But Yuriko is like a much more fascinating character. Especially with the knowledge that she has and everything through, Gnosia and whatnot. So that, I think my S and D tiers are pretty much the same. Now, the rest of this is probably going to be quite a bit different. So Kakrushka is one of the oddest characters because Kakrushka almost doesn't have a character of her own. Kakrushka is a doll. She's a literal doll. And she either has like this very minor, kind of cutesy, but very minorly conscious personality in some good timelines, or she's Manon. And so it's like, it's hard to quantify her within that kind of scope. And so I think I can only put her in C because I don't feel comfortable putting her anywhere else. Because she's not much of a character. She doesn't have enough to her to put her any higher. But, like, because of the good timelines, I don't feel like I can put her in D. And technically, Kakrushka and Manon aren't the same person until, like, the end, or that one timeline where she killed everyone. But I can't put Kakrushka higher than a C by the end of this. Next, I'm actually going to go with Shigemichi. Shigemichi is also a C. Shigemichi is just kind of annoying. He is the character who's, like, I wouldn't even call him comic relief. He's just there to kind of be an idiot. He's so random and just stupid the entire time. And he's another one that doesn't really get any development. In fact, I actually think he gets less development than Jonas. The only difference and the only reason I put him higher is because he's more likable than Jonas. Jonas is kind of a dick and an asshole. Shigemichi's at least kind of likable at times, even if he's more annoying than not. But yeah, Shigemichi has like practically no actual development within this. Again, the game probably goes a lot more into him, like it probably does with every character, but within the scope of this anime, like, I think the only thing we really know about him is that the alien gray look is just artificial skin. Because of an accident he was in or whatnot. That's literally it. Honestly, I could probably say Shigemichi was the least focused on and least important character in this series. After that, I'm going to go with Remnin. Remnen has a bit of development with Manon, and while there's no full conclusion to that in the end, especially because in the end Remnen is dead and Manon gets to survive inexplicably. I can't put Remnen higher than B, but because of his character and development and everything we do find out with him and everything we do see with him, even though he's not as highly developed as other characters, I do like him more than a lot of other characters like these four below him. Next I'm going to go with oh my god, they said the name in the fucking episodes. Oh my god, I can't remember the name. That's going to bother me. All Gnosia characters. Stella. I don't know why that name is hard for me to remember. Stella, who is also the ship, has a little bit of development like early on in the series and then is just kind of forgotten about during the rest of the series. Like, yeah, you technically hear the ship pretty much every episode, but it's not quite the same, you know? Like, and there's points where Stella is there, but just doesn't really have anything to say or do, and it's just, just there. And so I think I'm going to put Stella in the C tier, because I think, like, I like her, but it's just after, like, that one point of focusing on her and revealing that she is the ship, she's pretty much done for the rest of the series. And it's kind of disappointing. That's honestly kind of disappointing. Gina. Gina is a very bland milquetoast character who's basically just there to be like kind of a potential, I guess, love interest, even though that, at least in this, doesn't go anywhere. Although she is the last one to like be awake and to see Yuri off before they go into the timeline to save Setsu and everything. Before they go and activate the new silver key, which I don't know why that was the case. It would have actually made a lot more sense for it to be SQ. I just don't know why Gina was specifically the one there. The only one to still be conscious and awake and to say goodbye. Outside of Rakio, who had already left. But Gina is a very just basic, cutesy character. And she has a lot to do. She's actually a notable character in this. She has a lot to do. She has a lot of important moments. What she says to Yuri while they're on the military base, as an example, like helps them realize what they need to do to move forward and all. Gina, I would put in B tier above Remnen because it's like, while she's super important, her personality's fine. It's like she's just so bland to me that she just isn't as interesting as any of the characters that would be in S or A tier. Next we get to Chippy. Chippy is a character who, again, is like, after his reveal, he starts to get developed pretty quickly and then just kind of falls off. He just kind of like falls off as a character after his initial development and debut. And it kind of sucks because he was very nice. And I wanted to maybe know more about the cat thing. I think I'd put Chippy at the bottom of B tier. But now we get into the characters I like a lot more. And we're going to start with Sha Ming. Sha Ming is a character who I initially didn't like, because he was an annoying Chinibyo. But then we start to learn more about him and find out that he's actually a genuinely really good, nice person who cares about people. And it kind of turned me around a lot on him. Like, he puts up a front, he puts up a mask, but he genuinely does care and is a genuinely good person to such a high degree. And like, I can understand and connect with masking to hide your true feelings because you don't feel safe enough for that. My biggest issue with Shaming is the womanizing, especially when he womanizes characters who aren't even women and is told over and over again that they're not a woman, but still does it. And it's just like, that's a little annoying. It's like, I don't think like he's necessarily intending to misgender Setsu. I think he's just dumb. I think he's just dumb and he thinks like, oh, like stereotypically feminine looking person must be a woman. He just does, it's like the idea of someone being non-binary just doesn't comprehend in his little head. But I still think even with that flaw, I would put him in A tier. Otome. Otome is fucking adorable. Even when she's the Gnosia, she's adorable. Kind of creepy at points with the teeth, but still very adorable. She has a good heart. She's very kind, very fun, has a great personality. She's an easy A tier for me. It's like not much else to go off of there. Rakio was another character who I hated at first. Like, I found them incredibly annoying and unlikable. And then it started to develop them, and we started to see a lot more of them. And like Yuri even pointed out in these episodes, oh no, Rakio is actually a really great person who's like a really caring person. They're just a fucking tsundere. They're just a tsundere. They're really nice. They care so much. They just would never admit it. Because that would make them, I don't know, look vulnerable or something. They're extremely smart, and honestly, they're integral to so much of this series. I would say that after Yuri and Setsu, they're the next main character. I think by the end I would put Rakio at upper A tier there. And that leaves Yuri and Setsu, the main duo themselves. I left these two for last, obviously intentionally. So Yuri starts off the series as a very much like player character type of character. Where it's like they really don't have a lot of like their own personality, and they very much feel like a blank slate for you as the viewer to kind of imprint your own personality onto. And this works obviously within the scope of a game, but in the scope of an anime, it's not as fitting and satisfying, and they don't feel like an actual character that way. So it's a good thing that they gain character as they go along. As they go through these loops, they start to develop an actual, like, true character and become someone of their own. And the only other series I've seen this done in, where a character starts off as clearly intentionally a blank slate player insert and becomes an actual full-fledged character by the end, is the Persona 4 anime with Yu Narukami. And again, it's very much intentional there because Yu Narukami, within the scope of the Persona 4 game, develops as the game goes along, as you increase the different stats and whatnot, the different personality types. And so at the beginning of the series, of the anime, Yu is very emotionless and cold. But as he interacts with the other characters like Chie and oh my god, what is his name? It begins with a Y, I believe. It's been a while since I've seen the anime. But you know, all the characters. He starts to gain more actual personality within the scope of the anime, and he becomes a true character. And so it's like, it very much reminds me of that. And Yuri's character by the end is good. They're very caring, they're very emotional. They very much have this sense of justice and like morality to them. They have like almost too much of a sense of justice and morality because again, saving Manon in the end is psychotic as a decision. It's no. I don't agree with that still. Um it's like they're naively kind. And I don't think I could put them as high as a lot of other characters on here, but I think I'll put them just below Otome. I think that's about the best place I can put them. Because I obviously like them, and having them be the main character that we're following the point of view from works. But again, it's like there's some aspects of their personality and character that I don't quite agree with. And in the end, I just don't think they're as interesting as the other characters above them. Setsu is interesting because, them being a soldier and everything, who starts off very cold and quiet and everything, but starts to develop and by the end is like super emotional and almost silly at points. I like that development, but it does feel like it happened very suddenly. Like they went from being the more cold, emotionless, quiet Setsu to being the more goofy, fun, like enjoyable Setsu. It feels like the actual like transition happened way too like suddenly. And it doesn't feel as natural as some of the other changes for some of these characters. Like Yuri's felt a lot more natural in terms of development. But I still like Setsu. I like both versions of their personality. And in the end, like, I still like feel like them sacrificing themselves was the better option. Which sucks to say, but considering what the true ending was, it's like, I mean, they survive, and that's really the only positive you could say about it, in my opinion. But that's not really relevant to how much I like their character, either way. I like how they're very logical, like Rakio, but not necessarily as aggressive about it. They definitely have that, like, insane leadership quality. And overall, like, they're just very nice and cool, and their relationship with Yuri over the course of this is pretty great. I have to assume that in the game you can romance characters, because there's definitely a number of characters here who admit their love to Yuri, and even though Setsu didn't say the same thing as like SQ or Comet did earlier in the series, or Gina, I think it's pretty clear by the end that Yuri and Setsu seem like they're in love with each other. Like, it seems they don't say it, but it seems like it's very blatant that they're in love with each other, and that's why Yuri chose to do all of this and go to a world where, again, almost everyone else dies just to save Setsu. It doesn't even come across anymore as like, oh, I just want to save everyone. No, it's just like, I just want to save Setsu. Most of the others can die. I don't care. I just want to save Setsu. And I don't know if I'd say that Setsu as a character feels like they are like that, like, likable. There's other characters in this that are much more just generally likable, that feel like I would be much more willing to have that kind of ending with. But I would still rather have an ending where you save the most people possible, which, again, the first ending we had here was definitely that. It was definitely the best case scenario. And so, yeah, I think Setsu is a good character. I think that their development was a little sudden. Um, and I think that while their relationship with Yuri was good, it did feel like it could have been maybe a little better, a little more logical, and it just seems like the romance was really pushed in the end. So, because of all of that, taking everything into account, I think I'm going to put Setsu just above Yuri. I think I like Setsu just a tiny bit more than Yuri, but definitely not one of my top go-tos for this series. And so there you have it. That is my final rankings of the characters of Gnosia in terms of the anime. I don't know if I'll ever end up playing the game. I don't really have like a huge plan to, especially since the story is mostly going to be the same outside of, characters being more developed and having more time to like learn more about them. I don't really think like it would be like that big of a desire to play it at this point. If I did play it, it would definitely be on my own time and not on the gaming channel. Just because it's like, again, I already know like most of probably what's going to happen. So I feel like that wouldn't like lead to the best let's play. It wouldn't be the most exciting experience for me or for you guys. So I think I'm just gonna, in terms of like content on this or the gaming channel, I'm just gonna stick with this anime and leave it there. If I ever do play the game in the future, maybe I'll make a video talking about it to some degree, but that's kind of like up in the air. Because again, there's a lot of other games that are coming out like either soon or already out or whatnot that I would rather get. And I don't have like a shit ton of money to be constantly spending on a bunch of games, so I have to pick and choose. And yeah, as of this point, I probably wouldn't pick this anytime soon. Just because, again, I just watched the anime, I don't need to go through the same story again. At least not right now. But that being said, we need to announce the replacement. Because obviously we need a replacement for this series. And I already obviously have figured out what that replacement is going to be. Because I'm recording these so far ahead of time. Like, let me see. When are you seeing this? I think I have it listed, like, what day this ends. And just most things. I believe this is ending for those of you who are on Patreon on June 18th. So this is going live on Patreon on June 18th. It should be, at least. And which means June 25th on YouTube. If I'm slightly off about the dates, I apologize, but that's what I have written down for now. And so I'm recording this just as like a reference point on May 20th. That's how far ahead I am. Like almost an entire month ahead. But I already know what's replacing this because, again, of the date that this is going to be up. This is going to be replaced for the Thursday slot going forward with My Adventures with Superman Season 3. I feel like for those who have seen my reactions to the first two seasons, the fact that I made AMVs for the first two seasons, I feel like you shouldn't be surprised by that. My Adventures with Superman Season 3 starts, what day is it? June 13th. And so it makes sense I would want to get to that as soon as possible, and that would probably be as soon as possible afterwards. After it starts airing. So yeah, My Adventures with Superman Season 3 will replace Gnosia on Thursdays, going forward. But yeah, I really did enjoy this. I think that the series is overall like, I don't know, 8.5 out of 10 maybe. There are some things that I wish were tackled a little more. Some things I feel like could have been given a little more attention, and I had some issues with this ending. But overall, I think that the series was pretty damn good. And I'm glad that I checked it out. I'm glad that this series like really ended up working for me. Because a series like this absolutely could have been a dud in my opinion, but I'm glad that it ended up being investing and exciting enough to keep my attention. Because with me, who knows? It's always the problem with me when it comes to any piece of media. It's like, who knows if I'm gonna like it? Uh, but yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. If there's any clarifications or any like additional things you want to mention, real quick, please feel free. Um, but yeah, I feel like this was overall a great series to check out. I'm glad that we got through it. And I hope you enjoyed the reactions. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below if you have any clarifications or any corrections or anything you want to say. Please feel free to leave those below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.